Hey everybody, I have an update for you today, and this is what it looks like after I am exhausted and I've been doing this stuff all day. So you're getting me completely casual, but as long as you're good with that, stick around, we will get to this update. Before I start with that, I am going to ask you to please do all of the things. You know what they are. So let's talk about the Fab Four Project Pan. We know this is the Beatles project. This was created by Liza. She is Sustainable Liza on Instagram. I'm going to have that link down in the description box for you. I did my intro on Instagram just because I knew I wasn't going to be able to get this done, and then I just missed last month's update. So it's going to be a little bit, it's going to be the usual crazy train. Let's just call it what it's going to be and be realistic about it. So this technically started October 5th of 2023. And the reason that she did that is because that was when the Beatles released their first single, Love Me Do, in 1962. So that's where the date came from. This is only going to run through April 5th of 2024. So I kind of need to make sure that I stay on top of this or I'm not going to get to all of the prompts. The way she set it up said that it's a roulette style, monthly updates. We're going to work on 4 at a time, but we have to do more than that if we're going to get to all of them. And working on and completing are different things in my world, so I am using the creative license to just go ahead and add so that I can try and get to everything, even if I'm not done with everything. You guys know I bend the rules. Anyway, what I randomly had started with is, I actually still have my post-it note from when I randomized the numbers. I had number 16, Break Up the Band, an item that's been discontinued. For that, I pulled in this old Mary Kay lipstick. This is in the shade Inspiration. I love this color. I did this as, oh my, are you even, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on my hand. It's a, yeah, you can kind of see, it's that light pink right there at the top. It's really pretty. It's nice and smooth to use. It's, I don't want to say shiny, but shiny. It's shiny. I think it might be considered a satin. I'm not entirely certain. It is not a matte, so maybe it's a semi-satin, semi-gloss. I'm not sure. Whatever it is. But I did 6 days of use on that. I completed that. So that's actually a rollout for this project. And this must have been some kind of special edition because it's got an imprint on the tube that I don't recognize. But anyway, not really relevant. Just thought I'd share that. The next one I had was number 19, Lennon-McCartney, a duochrome shade or dual-ended product. Oh man, it's sitting on my bathroom counter, so I'm going to go get that so that I can show you what it is that I put in. All right, now I'm back. So what I decided to bring in was the Pink Crush Cosmetics single that I have here. This is in Stargazer. Now this is a purple pink to red shift. So that's why these do pop out of the thing, but for purposes of this, I left it in instead of putting it in one of my palettes. Now, that's what it looks like on my finger. I don't know if you're getting any shift off of that or not. We'll move my hand around too and see what I can, yeah, I don't know what all you can see and what all you can't. But this is one of the Pink Crush Cosmetics that was Stargazer was in, I don't remember which palette it is, but they did sell some of the shadows out of that as singles, and I didn't want the whole palette, so I just picked up the single. Now, my goal for that is 6 uses, and I'm going to tell you right now, I've gotten 1 so far. I kind of need to get on that a little more, because it's really pretty. I do like it. It's a pink one, of course I do. So that's going to stay in the project for right now, but that's okay. That can happen. All right, then I ended up with number 6, which is Yellow Submarine, a yellow or a gold item. I know this was cheating, but I brought in this eye mask, and the whole thing is gold in the back there. And this is from Grace and Stella. It says it's like an energy drink for your eyes. So this is an anti-wrinkle, energizing eye mask. And they were actually gold colored too. These hurt. So, oh, look at Lucy. She's being so cute, Vic. Right there, right there. These hurt. I put them on, I had them on for less than 5 minutes, and it wasn't like, oh, a tingling, oh, whatever. It was physically painful to the point where I thought I was going to go have to grab the milk and put it on my face to stop having the reaction that I was having because it was brutally painful. I don't recommend these. I don't like these. I am so glad they're gone. This was something that came in with a bunch of other stuff. It wasn't something I purchased myself, and I would not buy these. Now, I don't know why I had that reaction. I don't normally have that kind of reaction to things, but that one was a no-go for me. So it is completed, but I traveled with it. So it fit in the case that I keep the project cards in, and that's why that one had gotten pulled. Then the next one was Hello Goodbye. That's number 14, and it was a sample or a single use, which worked out really well. So I brought in this little Pharmacy Green Clean sample, and it's all gone. It's just a little thing. So there's not a ton in there, but I did get at least, I think I got 3 uses total out of this. So that worked out pretty well for me. And we should know by now that yes, this is I do like the green cleans. It's not my holy grail, but they are good and I do repurchase them. I like them. So that will be going into the empties along with that eye mask thing. And that is another completed prompt for this project. So now here's where we get to do the goofiness, some of the goofiness. Because of missing last month, I am actually going to roll 2 months worth in on bringing in 8 different things this time. But they're not too crazy bad. I think these are all things that are doable. So we'll see. So the first one I have is number 27, Apple Records, a green item. For that, I'm going to bring in another small Pharmacy Green Clean. This one is a 0.4 ounce, so it's bigger than that little sample was, because that was, I think my glasses are over there. This one was 0.1 ounce, so it's 4 times as much. So it'll last me a little while, but I'll still be able to get it finished. And this is just their standard regular green one, not any of the scented ones that they put out. So that's coming into completion. Then I had number 22, Can't Buy Me Love, something you didn't buy for yourself, a gift with purchase, point per gift card, etc. And one of the things that I just got in part of a bundle was this little drunk elephant. This is the Proteini Polypeptide Cream. I need a nap. I haven't even opened this. I just got this in. This is a 0.16 ounce 5 milliliter jar, and I'm going to probably start on it. Yeah, it smells good. I mean, it doesn't really smell, so it doesn't smell bad. It's just a white cream. I've never used it before, and I know that people really like the Drunk Elephant, but I know it's a little expensive. So I kind of wanted to use this right away just to make sure that I got to it. It didn't sit around for a long time first. So that's going to be in to finish. Then we've got Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Anything related to hearts, and that's number 5 on Liza's list. For that, I decided I was going to bring in the Notoriously Morbid Queen of Hearts palette. And I am going to do this as No Pan Left Behind. Now, it does have a mirror, so let's try not to blind you. But these are the colors, and you can see there's a couple dual pans in there and a marbleized one and some fun stuff. And what I did with this is I wrote the name of every shade on the back of my card, and that's how I'll keep track of it, because we're gonna get some use on this one, because I haven't really played with this palette yet, and it's really pretty and fun. There's purples, there's pinks, there's a maroon, there's some pretty blues and green in here. So we're gonna see how much I love Notoriously Morbid stuff, so I'm sure I'm going to love it anyway, but that's the goal for this one. Then I got number 8, and that's Magical Mystery Tour, so something psychedelic, trippy, or colorful. Now, I just brought this palette in to the 70s project, that 70s pan that I'm doing, because of the flower power thing, and I thought, well, it kind of fits here too, so I thought, well, I'll go ahead and use it, but this time, see, that's the inside, this time I'm going to do this one down here in the bottom. That one's Wicked, and I only have one pan in the other project, so I figured I could do another pan and I wasn't really cheating. So it's a really nice bright pink. Geez, all my swatches, I mean, it's a bubblegum pink. Can you guys even see that? It's hard for me to tell because I have the computer with the camera so far back, and then I've got lights above and behind me, so I can't always tell, but I'm hoping that you're okay. Well, that's what it came off on the wipe from just my finger. So it's pretty nice and bright, but I like the bubblegum pinks. And if I don't go heavy-handed, I should be fine. This palette packs some punch. So the goal on that, I had it written down as 4 uses, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do 6 because I'm doing 6 on most of this. because of it being a 6-month project. All right, then paperback writer. This is book themed or reminds you of a specific book. A few years ago, and they are no longer around, there was a company called Storybook Cosmetics, and they put out these kinds of palettes. This one is the Jane Eyre one, obviously, and it was a group of sisters. I think there were 3 of them that did this company, and things didn't go well, so it didn't stick around. But the inside has got a mirror, a little Charlotte Bronte quote. It came with this lip gloss, which I think is just expired, and I'm not going to use that. I just have it in there because it with the logoing on it. But then it also has the 3 eyeshadows. So we have, and they're still good and soft, this gorgeous satin in Jane, and then this mauve, which you can't really see on my finger, called Thornfield, and then this gorgeous deep magenta, which may even be a different name for that color. Or maybe it is just magenta. I don't know. Anyway, it's deeper than a cranberry. And that is Mr. Rochester. So, yeah, that shimmer is really pretty. Ooh. And yeah, that's a pretty deep burgundy. So these 3 here, you can see the shine from that pink. It's got a little tint of color, but it's pretty sheer. It's kind of a topper shade. And then these 2 are the other 2, and they are both mattes. So my goal with that is to use each shade 3 times. Since there are only 3 of them, I thought that would be fine. And it actually is the book. I don't know how they got permission. Maybe that was part of the problem. Is I don't know if they got the permissions from using the name and author's name. I would think you would have to, well, who knows. Not really relevant. I'm very tired. I am so very tired. So sorry. Okay, then 25. Everybody's got something to hide except me and my monkey. Except for me and my monkey, sorry. And so this is supposed to be a corrector or a concealer. Well, I finally broke down after years of hearing about how wonderful this was and bought, this is the old Becca under eye corrector that Smashbox is one of the, when Smashbox took some of the Becca products, this was one of the 3, I think. The corrector, the highlighter, and something else, I can't remember what, they actually continued doing of the old Becca line. So this is the Becca under eye corrector, Becca and Smashbox, whatever. And it is just in Fair Light, which is the peach color, and because I have such dark circles, even with correctors, I wanted to give this a shot. So I'm going to put this in for 10 uses. I haven't even cracked this open yet because I just recently got this. I think I got it at, I think it was the 21 Days of Beauty half price sale from Ulta. So that's going to come in for some uses, and we'll see how I like that, because from my understanding, that is actually more of like a paint pot consistency, I think, versus a liquidy corrector type of consistency. So we'll see how that works out for me, because I have very dry skin and old crepey under eyes. It may or may not be a winner for me. We don't know. You'll find out when I find out. All right, then I've got 13, Strawberry Fields Forever, something that smells good. And so I'm going to bring in, this is from last year's kit. This is one of the Too Faced Hangover RX Pillow Balms. This is in Strawberry Kiss. I figured that kind of went with the Strawberry Fields Forever. These are the travel size, so they are 0.14 ounce. It will take me a while to finish this, but I'm thinking I can get this done before the end of the project. It has not even been cracked open yet, but I do not have one of these open currently, and I usually have about 7 different lip things open at a time because I use tons of lip products. So Strawberry Kiss is coming in, and we're blaming all of the pillow balms on Deb B. She's the reason I have them all. So I took a start weight on that, and that's at 28.2 grams by my scale, so we're going to measure that way in addition to what you can maybe see. All right, then the last thing, and I think that, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I only bringing in 6? No, 6, 7. I am bringing in 8. Okay, 9. I don't know what I'm bringing in. Wow. Anyway, the next one we're going to do is number 24's Ain't She Sweet, a candy or dessert themed item. So what I'm bringing in is my Notoriously Morbid lip balm. This is part of the Winchester Gospels line under their, I I think they're called Night Kiss lip balms in general. And if you go under the Winchester Gospels, you get a bunch of different flavor choices. This is Sam's Strawberry Mousse. So I was thinking strawberry mousse is a dessert type of thing. So that fit. Now I put this in for just some usage goal in another project, and I've been continuing to use it. So what I did is I just marked on the back of the card, that's how much is left from the bottom of the card to the line, and I am going to just finish this off. So it will take however long it takes, but I go through those fairly quickly. So that is everything that I am doing for the Beatles project, the Fab Four Project Pan. And I am going to, because this is a music group themed project, I'm actually going to do something different for my music moment this time. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Apple Records, and I actually ended up with that prompt as my first one that I had drawn. So I thought, well, okay, that's a good way to start. We'll do music stuff later, I'm sure, but I thought this was kind of fun because let's figure out exactly what is going on with Apple Records and how this started. And I knew it was a Beatles thing, but I didn't know the background on it either. So I just kind of started looking up some brief information. So back in the day, when Brian Epstein was still alive and was their manager, he was working on a plan for the group to have a few entities to make everything that they were doing into a more business-like structure so that they kind of had control over not just like the writing and recording of music, but so that they had more control of some of the other parts of it too. Well, he did end up passing away before this came to fruition. So after his passing in 1967, I want to say it was when they came back from India. Yes, after they came back from India, the four members of the Beatles then did found Apple Corps Limited is what the actual overarching name for all of the things that were under it is. Okay, Apple Corps Limited is the parent to everything else that went on. Now, not only was there Apple Records, but that was supposed to be probably the biggest part of it. And the point of it, well, okay, before I get into that, there was also going to be Apple Retail, Apple Publishing, and Apple Electronics, etc., etc. We will at some point talk about Apple Computers versus Apple Core and the different things that have been problematic. We'll do that in another update. But what they ended up doing was they did Magical Mystery Tour. So that actually was released on Apple Films, which then fell under this umbrella of Apple Corps. So it was a Beatles-owned thing. Now with the Apple Records, it's a subdivision of Apple Corps, but even though the Apple Records label is on there, they still needed a distribution avenue, and they didn't have that in place. So in the UK, what they did is they set up a deal with EMI. And I've always known EMI as EMI Records. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time working in the music stores. My dad did, and I grew up around a lot of that stuff. So I do know EMI. In the US, the subsidiary company from EMI is Capitol Records. Capitol Records is huge here in the US, had a gigantic building in San Francisco, which was a widely known and seen building that ended up in a lot of videos and films and movies and, you know, anything that was around that was done down in San Francisco. Or was that Virgin? I thought Capitol was in San Francisco. I may be wrong. I know there's a Capitol Records building, and it's huge, and it's been seen in a bunch of stuff, but now I have to check the location of it. Anyway, not really the point. So what they did is they set up a contract through 1976 where distribution of the things that were on the Apple label would be put out through EMI and Capitol. So that's how in the US you got your Beatles albums, and how in England you got your Beatles albums. I don't know what they did in other countries at all, because I know that their stuff was put out in Germany, and I don't know if EMI has a subsidiary in Germany or not. But those are the two main ones that we kind of need to know about. Now, here's how some of this works. In the UK, everything that's put out has a number associated. With books, it's an ISBN number. With the records, it's a catalog number. So the Apple label had Parlophone catalog numbers in the UK. In the US, they had Capitol Records catalog numbers. And Apple Records owns the rights to all of the Beatles videos, movie clips, and rights to the recordings and all that stuff signed under the label. But the first catalog number, the first thing that they technically put out under Apple One, is actually really cool. So it's Frank Sinatra doing a reworked version of The Lady is a Tramp that instead is Maureen is a Champ. And the reason this was done was as a surprise birthday present for Ringo Starr's then wife, Maureen, for her 21st birthday. And that I did not know. That until I read it, had never heard that before. So that was kind of a fun little fact about Apple Records. So in addition to the Beatles stuff, well, at this point then you also have to look at what's going on with the Beatles and then when they break up. So in the 70s, like by the mid 70s, a lot of what was going on with Apple, not only was it when the Beatles were together and their stuff, but then it was like acts that they had found. Badfinger is one that I've talked about a lot. They were friends with them, and Pete Ham actually had written a song specifically for them when they were leaving the Apple label, but that was one of the bands that was a part of that in the very early days. James Taylor was in there, Billy Preston, there's a couple of other ones too. So a lot of the people that were part of Apple Records or were under that label were people that the Beatles members had found and wanted to promote or work with. And so a lot of the things that came out from these other bands under that Apple label, you will have at least one of the members of the Beatles on that record, on the recording, because they were in those sessions a lot of times. So it really was kind of just a passion project for them as far as the Apple Records thing. Not only was it their gig, but then it was also because they were in the industry and interested in music as much as they were. I mean, this wasn't just like, oh yeah, I go and I work my 9 to 5 and I get paid. This was what they were living and breathing. So it was people that they were finding and bringing in that they wanted to work with specifically. Then as the band broke up, Apple Records basically just became this big, gigantic entity for all of the individual Beatles solo projects, because there was so much of that going on that literally was the bulk of what that catalog was. So in a way, it still tied them together even after the breakup, and they still had to make decisions because of ownership of a lot of this stuff. Now, there are still rights to some Beatles stuff that is not owned by any of the members or heirs of the Beatles. McCartney owns his stuff, and we'll get to why at a later date. So I just wanted to talk to you about the foundation and the purpose of like Apple Core Limited, because it was more than just Apple Records. And I don't know if people even understand that, because I don't know how many people paid attention to Magical Mystery Tour being under Apple Films. And then, like I said, with Apple computers, that's mostly when you say Apple, that's what people think of. So we'll get into all of that goodness later. Thank you for letting me ramble. Thank you for putting up with my tired butt. I truly do appreciate it. Wish me luck. Leave me comments down below if you have any questions on any of the stuff with Apple Core or Apple Records, or anything you want me to address in the future. Like I said, there's a huge thing between Apple Core and Apple Computer, and we're talking decades of lawsuit type of stuff. So I will actually take an episode and break down kind of what happened there, how it happened, what they were fighting over, that kind of stuff. We'll get into the management of Apple as a company itself later, and if I can find anything that was put out, because I don't know what came under like Apple Publishing other than publishing rights, but there is another label under that, and this is still around. This is still going today. This company exists, and it still has the management team in place and is still doing stuff. So if there's anything specific you want me to address, throw it in the comments. Otherwise, I will give you more worthless knowledge in the next update. Until then, everybody, thanks so much. See ya. Bye.